Today, I'm beyond excited because my first guest is the person who's been building life with me every day, my wife, Cassie. I wanted you to become the first guest on the podcast because you're the person that holds me accountable, and you'll kind of help me go through all of this and get everything done the way that it needs to be done. Plus, you are very much along on your healing journey, and you try to express that into me and try to push me to do better. So I wanted to make sure that you were the first guest on here. So
It's nice to be here.
you nervous?
We should have brought vodka.
Right? No kidding. I saw this thing, and it said, when you're nervous and your heart starts to race,
Yeah.
you just think of it as like your ancestors are cheering you on.
That's not going to help me. That'll make me cry.
That'll make you cry?
Yeah.
I thought of that at my grandpa's funeral when we were sitting there before I went up to go do that speech or whatever. That's what.
Yeah, and then you cried.
Well, I did, but still, like it helped kind of calm my nerves a little bit, I think, before I went up there.
I don't think so, because much like right now, you were consistently getting up to run to the bathroom.
Well, I mean, that's just what happens. But, well, it looks like everything is running. 3 cameras, mics, audio. This is our first podcast. Doing a guest one in our new setup, temporary setup.
Mm-hmm. Where you've stolen all my stuff.
Stolen all of your stuff. Fuck you. Half this stuff I bought myself.
Doesn't matter.
What did I steal? I stole 2 plants.
3. And my pillows.
These are my pillows.
They're not your pillows.
They're my pillows. I bought them at Costco just because you liked them and thought
I picked them at Costco.
Welcome to Building Life, where construction meets consciousness. So how do we first build something together, where it was our first date, moving in, or tackling a home project? And what did that teach us early on?
We got thrust into some pretty big things pretty early on.
Yeah, we did. Within a month of dating, you're pregnant with our son.
So we didn't have a choice. We did, in that we chose to be together. But everything after that was, this is just what has to be done. There was not a lot of choice. So that being said, there was a lot of hiccups along the road of learning and growing and all of the things.
So when I first started talking about this podcast idea, blending construction with building a meaningful life, what was your initial reaction, and how did it evolve into something that you got excited about with me?
My initial reaction was, this is a really great excuse for him to spend even more money on tech shit.
Well,
I
definitely have done that.
Yeah, I was not wrong.
Yeah.
But I knew that it would be good for you because of the way that your brain works. And your brain is very, I don't want to say construction founded, but like it likes the plan and it likes to know what's happening and it likes to see it through in that way, like in the way of stages, or I guess that would be the project manager side, right?
Yeah.
So I knew that that would be good for you. And I knew that if you could integrate your healing with something you already knew, it would be easier for you to understand those concepts then.
To have like a familiar experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, to be able to relate to something. And that's definitely how my brain works as well. Like I need to be able to relate to things. And my brain, when I look at things, it very much breaks down things in a constructive way. Like I don't see things in a way that it's like, I don't see like a clock for just being a clock. Like my mind kind of breaks it down as to like, how is that working? How is the second hand moving? How is the hour hand moving? The minute hand, everything, like how it's all the gears. Like my brain just starts breaking it down, and it does that for almost anything that I'm
I would think that's
looking
pretty
at.
common in ADHD, but I think it's even more common than we know in men's brains
Yeah.
that they see things.
At one point in time, I asked my doctor too that I said, I don't think that I have ADHD. I said, I think I have low latent inhibition based on some of the things that I was reading and how my brain works. And her response basically was just, while they're both the same medication anyway, so what difference does it make? And then I was just like, okay, I wanted to know, so. Looking back at our journey so far, what's one project that we've tackled as a couple that felt a lot like framing a house, messy in the middle, but once it was solid and came together?
I would say the project that we have currently and have had and will continue to have that feels like building something is the project that we have in our children.
Yeah.
We have raised one teenager already, and it turned out really well. We got lucky.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah. And we have another one right now who is giving us a run for our money.
Oh, for sure. Like I was a bad kid, but like,
yeah, she is your karma. 100%. Yeah.
Some of the stuff that she does is like, it blows even my mind. And I do some wild shit. Everybody knows I do wild shit. But,
and then our youngest will probably be different than the girls too. And so I would say that's probably our biggest project, where I could, I guess, conceptualize that it's like building a house, except we're building responsible, hopefully, humans.
Yeah, well, I mean, and we're building a home, and part of that is the occupants of that home, right? So we're cognizant of that, and that includes us and our children. And when they move out, there's still that. We're still building a family with their families. With our daughter getting married this summer, I mean, there's going to be family there that is incorporated into all of this as well. Okay, so in construction, everything starts with a strong foundation. What do you think has been the strongest foundation we've built in our marriage, and how is it held through the storms?
What do you think?
I think our communication, our banter. Sometimes our communication isn't as good as maybe it could be, but I definitely think like the banter that we have back and forth, you're sick of my shit and you're going to put apple seeds in my food and to try and kill me one day. And,
are you mentioning that on the internet? In case you...
for sure. I'm definitely mentioning that on the internet. So then that way, like everybody, if I go missing or if I just suddenly die and they don't know what was the cause, it was her. It was 100% guaranteed. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
And what do you think?
I think our humor, like we laugh a lot.
We do. Yeah.
And I mean, honestly, if we hadn't gotten to the point where we started laughing, one of us probably would be dead.
Yeah.
That's.
I would think so.
Yeah. Like we would not be together. It would be miserable.
Trade work is full of unexpected problems. There's delays, bad weather, wrong materials. What's a tough season we've gone through together, and how did we reframe or adapt?
Again, we've had many. And the things that we went through, it wasn't just one, thing, and then we'd get through that. And then there was another thing and we'd get through that.
It was compounding.
We definitely, but that was on us in a lot of ways, right? There was choices that you were making with your life that I didn't agree with. That's where everything, I guess, first really kind of started to go sideways. And then we're both stubborn, and you lost people and I lost people. And then I think the other like really big cataclysmic thing that happened between you and I was when I started my healing journey. And we had such a different point of view in the beginning. So again, like with the compounded stuff, and then, you know, doing what people do, like we were both growing up, we were both adapting, we were both learning more about ourselves. And then we kind of got to the point where we had to decide to get to know the new version, right? Because the version of you that you were and the version of me that I was when we met wasn't even who we were a year and a half after that, right?
Yeah.
We were already becoming different people. And I think, you know, through the journey, we had to decide then it was make or break.
Yeah.
Right. You either you figure it out with this person and you like this person and you want to grow with this person, or you and this person are done.
Yeah.
Right. So
For sure. And I mean, and we had that definitely, which it kind of leads into this other question, because one of the problems that came up very, very early in the beginning was me gone to remote sites. And so like my work requires me to travel for where I was working with a fly in, fly out remote locations. And now even still, I'm leaving, you know, days at a time to go to construction sites or to another city or another town for days at a time. But what kind of things have we looked at to approach that with patience, teamwork, and problem solving at home?
So a lot of the issues that came up when you were working up north, specifically, right, was you were gone for pretty big stretches of time.
Yeah, I think
like 6 weeks, I think, was the one.
7 weeks was the longest stint.
And I was at home with a newborn alone, which is, I mean, it's people do it. But where we really struggled then was like you would come home after working like 12-hour shifts and you were away from home and you wanted to relax and you wanted to do the things. And I saw you coming home as I have help.
Yeah.
Right. So we weren't on the same page. And so we knew that that was going to be a thing. What's different now is it's like 3 days. I do not have a newborn at home.
No, you have a 16-year-old that's
I do.
terrorizing.
I do. Which might actually be harder.
Yeah.
But we went through a lot of talking, where, again, like back in the beginning, like when we were relearning ourselves and situations were changing and compounding, we may have been trying to communicate what was going on, but neither one of us was getting through to the other one. So one of the other things that's happened is as we've grown and we've become more active listeners, we're able to understand better what the other is saying, right? So I think now if I were to come to you and say, well, like you've been out of town and yes, you were working, but you got to stay in a hotel and you didn't have to clean and you didn't have to cook and you didn't have to do the things. And I was here doing the things and she's acting like a demon. I'm joking. I'm not joking. But you know, we communicate differently in such a way now that like, I don't think you'd be like, well, I'm just going to sit on the couch. Now you're going to be like, oh, I should probably make supper. Let her. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like it's different. Like we actively act more as a team now than we did then.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. We're definitely splitting duties a little bit more. We're communicating better. We're taking time for just ourselves, just the two of us, you know, where we weren't doing that before either. That was, especially when I was working in those remote sites and gone for a long time, that was one of the big things. Like I wanted us to go do something together, you know, even if it was for a night, just get a babysitter. I wanted to spend time together and, you know, my schedule was very messed up too, because I was working 12 or 16-hour days. So I'm not getting back to my room on the mine site until, like 8, 9 o'clock at night. And then, I take time to wind down, and I've always been someone that only sleeps like 5, 6 hours a night.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't need to have that long sleep. So I'm staying up late, whether it's watching a movie after I've gone to the gym on site, stuff like that. And I come home and I want to do that same thing, where I'm staying up, watch a movie, but I want to do it with you. And it's not what you want to do, because you've been going to bed early with the baby and all of those things.
Well, and so getting up 3-4 times through the night.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So we often say relationships take maintenance, just like a building. What's one maintenance habit that we've developed that keeps things strong, and one we're still working
on? One of the things that we primarily do that I think has also changed a lot is our nightly baths.
Yeah.
So as you said, like actively taking that time, then even if it's not, sometimes to spend time with each other, you don't need a babysitter. You don't need those things, right? You just need to actively put yourselves in a position where you can talk and spend that time with each other. So I think that is good for us. What are we still currently working on? I still want to take my ears out most of the time when I don't want to listen to you. So I feel like that
makes sense.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
That might
I say a lot of stupid shit. I mean, I can see a lot of people not wanting to listen to what I have to say, but I'm just going to say it anyways.
It's good to have that self-awareness.
And I mean, the fact that we have this jet tub that we sit in the jet tub, and whether we're watching a show on the iPad or we're just sitting there talking, it is the kind of like our time that we spend together. And the kids have kind of learned like they're in there, leave them the fuck alone, and that's good for us. And it's definitely played a big part. Yeah.
Yeah.
So in our life together right now, if it was a construction project, what phase would we be in? Would we be pouring the foundation, framing walls, or would we be doing like the finishing work?
Oh, we are not finishing.
No, for sure.
No. I think it's interesting because like we're 10 years in and married. So to be saying like that there's still foundational work, but that being said, like I think there's always going to, because we are both going to continue to learn and change and grow and heal and do things in different ways. So I think, do I think that we have a solid foundation? Yes. However, that still continues work, right? Like there's still work that goes into maintaining that foundation. Also, living with you, being married to you is hard. Our entire life is consistently a construction zone. So I don't only hear about this on the podcast. I actually live in a construction zone all of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. My life is a project.
There's that whole saying of like a carpenter's home is never finished.
It better get finished.
Well, but here's the thing is like a carpenter's home isn't ever finished for a couple of reasons. One, they're continually working on other projects, and theirs kind of get put on the back burner a little bit. But more importantly than that is by the time you're done all of the tasks at hand and you have everything fully renovated, then that's when the other ideas come into play. And it's like, well, now I need to do this. Now I need to do this. And we have an acre of property and multiple outbuildings, like we're building now a studio out in the yard of the house, so then that way it's out of the house. And where we are right now is just temporary, but this is something that we want to do. We want to have this podcast. It's something that we want to incorporate into our lives. And in order to do that, we have to make space for it. And so that's why there's always going to be this continuing thing. And I'll be honest, even when I retire, there's a good chance that there's going to be a shop within our property somewhere that is going to be all of my woodworking tools are going to be in there. And that's what I'm going to do when I'm retired. Sure, we're going to vacation and we're going to go to places. But I mean, that is something that is going to happen because it is a big part of my life.
Can it be like on the other side of town? And
Well, that's where this temporary studio currently is, on the other side of town.
yeah, so like we can put the wood shop.
Yeah.
Yeah. On
Yeah,
the other
okay.
side of town.
So why do you think this podcast matters right now? What gap do we see in how people talk about building a fulfilling life, especially when it involves real work, family, and growth?
The biggest gap that I see actually is in the men who are in, trades and doing the things and the spaces that have been available to them to be able to share with each other about healing and growing and building their lives and their relationships. And I don't like the word stigma. I don't like it. However, I think this kind of fills that gap. It creates a space then where men can start to talk. And even if they're not ready to talk, maybe the questions are being asked where they're able to reflect then and find some of those answers within themselves. And even just starting on that part of the journey for themselves is important. And that is the gap.
Yeah, sometimes people just need something to relate to. And, construction is the thing that I know. So that's why I chose this to be the thing to relate it to, is because I can talk about construction and I can relate to construction. And I can use construction as either a metaphor or an analogy for a lot of things. And I do in my life, so I figured that was a way for me to be able to kind of be an icebreaker. But I want this podcast to not be just guys just sitting around talking about construction, because there's so much of that. I want people that are in those trades or can relate to those trades, or maybe it's somebody who doesn't at all, but I still want to have people like that come on the podcast. So then that way we can find that common ground that at least gets the conversation started.
Well, I think that kind of comes back to what I had said earlier. And before this, you and I have talked about this as well, in that, if you look at the way men's brains work, and they need to have that relatable thing then to connect it to, but also in the way that the questions are being shaped, like in your introductory episodes, we talked about how, I thought you were kind of unintentionally sending them through their shadow work journey. So, people who have gone a certain path within their spirituality and their healing, shadow work is a very common term then. But most men might not know that term, and that might not make a lot of sense to them. Yeah. But because you're framing your questions around things that they know, it can spark that in them then to start to do those things. And you know what, sometimes it is messy. And sometimes, to go through the stuff that we've kept down hurts, and it's, whatever. But on the other side of it, it does actually feel better to look at those things with an adult lens and start to, process them and move through them. So so it's the unintentional shadow work and the way a man's brain works.
And when you say the way a man's brain works, like, you mean logic, right?
Definitely should have brought the vodka.
For someone listening who's building their life, whether it's career, relationships, personal goals, what's one thing we've learned together that you'd want them to hear early?
To be probably patient with themselves. I think both separately and together, we both went through things where we almost, I don't know how to word it. I don't want to say that we demanded the attention of the other one because we were going through so much internally, but because we were doing that separately, just at the same time, there was so many times I didn't have the space, right? I didn't. But if somebody had told me to be that I should be patient, not only with myself, but with the people around me, as I was moving through those things, it might have been easier. I don't know. Yeah, I suppose maybe there's more than one thing, but
I can agree with what you're saying, especially with the patience and stuff like that, and not necessarily being cognizant of what the other person is going through, because people experience things so much differently and they have their own way of doing things. Like even at our wedding, like my cousin Todd came up to me and said, I want to say to you, like you've always lived life your way. You don't do what the status quo says to do. You want to do things your way, and you make your own way, and you make your own way. Like it's not just you say you're making your way, you're actually doing it. And have I had setbacks? Absolutely. I get setbacks all the time. But I think that was one of the big things that clashed between you and I during that time too, is because you were so set in your way of doing things and I was so set in my way of doing things that even though it was working for you and it was working for me, each one of us was looking at the other like, you're doing it wrong. You're not doing it the right way. You're not approaching this the right way. And I think that was a big thing too. So not just the patience, like being able to see and recognize that everybody has their own way of doing things and there's no right way or wrong way, as long as the common goal in the end is still something good. As we launch this, what are you most excited about for the conversations ahead, whether it's guests, stories, or the impact on listeners?
I am most interested and excited about the conversations and the impact. Again, in creating a space where, these big, tough, strong tradesmen can be vulnerable and start to do the work, right? But then I'm really, really excited to see the impact of that in the real world. How it touches people. Are people resonating? Are men resonating? Are even their wives resonating, right? Is there maybe a way that, a man gets so comfortable with the podcast that he and his partner start to create the time to watch it together, and then he has that extra support at home then to help him on that journey as well. I'm just interested to see how it evolves. How it
plays out.
Yeah,
for sure. I think for myself, like the biggest reason why I decided to do this was, as you know, maybe people watching don't know, but I started doing kind of like, instead of journaling, I'm not really good with sitting there writing things out.
You tried.
I do. But I mean, for me, it was being able to sit in front of this camera. It was a practice thing for me to be able to sit and talk in front of a camera, because it's very awkward when nobody else is there to talk in front of a camera. But it came kind of like this video journaling for myself, like not a vlog necessarily to put out for people, but just for myself, so I can talk through and work through my own problems that maybe I don't necessarily want to talk to other people about.
Right.
I talk to you about a lot of things, but I'm sure there's a lot of things that go on, and I know there's a lot of things that go on inside of my head that I don't want to talk to anybody about. And to be able to have that private way of being able to journal in a way that relates to me. And I am tech savvy. I am somebody that I've always been into music and audio and video and all of that stuff my whole life. And so it was a way for me, again, to relate to something that I know and do something positive with it. And then it turns into this. Well, this was already an idea before I started doing that video journaling, but it's kind of all fallen into place, if that makes sense.
I think it's important, though, to add as well that keeping track of a person's own journey is a very individual thing. I had also tried the journaling, and I just couldn't. But me moving through my journey and me not documenting it didn't make my journey any less valid.
Yeah.
Right. So if where you're at is creating these videos, which I think is a really great way for you to move through your own internal process on it. That's the way you seem to function the best. Then that's great. And maybe somebody else could try that too, even just with their phones,
Yeah,
right?
for sure. And that's kind of what I was doing in the beginning, was just with my phone. I mean, yeah, sure, I've got like cameras and stuff like that, but I mean, the most convenient thing for me was just to have my phone. And even if I didn't feel like doing a video, there's even just voice notes, you know, and then I can take those voice notes and I can throw it into Apple Notes. And then it's actually a written out form. It transcribes it into a written form. I can go back and read it if I don't want to. And, you know, I've even taken some of those and I've sent you not the audio, but I've sent you sections of the transcript that have come out and allowed you to read those, you know. And it's just a way for me to, yeah, figure out the process on my own and work through my own shit in my head. Because let's be real, my brain is running 1,000,000 miles a second. And it's very hard to break some of that down sometimes. And so it's best for me to just start talking, ramble. And inside of that rambling, there's a message somewhere that I can go back and listen to it and be like, that's what I need to do, or that's what's going on.
What do you think was or I guess rather, how did that work for you then as you started to process like stuff from like your childhood?
I'm still doing that. And I mean, I guess some of that showed up in some of the previous episodes. I mean, those are just very minimal. I shouldn't say minimal. They're little fractals of time that has a whole bigger story, a bigger picture to it. And that in its own is something that I'm still working through, and I imagine I'll be working through for a long time. You know, in that one episode I talked about, you know, I'm not talking to my dad. And that's been tough, because it was he's the one person that I looked up to my whole life, despite the things that have gone on. And, you know, just a couple of weeks ago, we're at my grandfather's funeral and my dad is there, you know, and it's not that I didn't want to talk to him, because I did talk to him and I did want to talk to him. But it was also not a place for me to be like, I'm not ready to talk to you, and walk away from him. His father just died. And, you know, he does need his sons there. You know, he does need his family there for him. And I'm not going to just walk away in that moment, because I'm pissed off at some of the things that have gone on, especially some of the recent things that have gone on.
Right.
You know, but that also has kind of opened the door for that conversation. The conversation has not happened between him and I, but it needs to happen, and it should. So this is, again, me just rambling and working through that in my head. But I mean, I would say that's probably one of the biggest things from my childhood. There's a lot of things from my childhood, but just my relationship with my father is probably the biggest one.
Given that you know yourself, and who you were and how you reacted to things starting to go through some of the childhood stuff, right? What is different now about the way you react to things post starting to go through some of that stuff versus having like recognized that there was stuff in your childhood?
I was very reckless and self-destructive as soon as I started to have feelings even remotely close to anything related to any of that stuff. I would go down a self-destructive path or a reckless path, or I would tell people to fuck off, push people away. And I think a big part of that was that I felt like I wasn't good enough for those people, regardless of whether they cared or not. And I would do that. And now it's like, I need to process this. I need to take time to figure this out before I can come to it. And don't get me wrong, there's still times where I'm still like very much agitated. And that's going to take some time. I think that's slowing down is probably what it is now, is just slowing down.
And how do you think this change, I guess, affects your relationships? Like, how did it affect your relationships pre and post doing the trauma shadow work?
I think pre would be, it ruined relationships. Even with you and I, we went through long stints of not being together because of that and other things, where now I think sitting back and taking time to just step away from it, slow down, and then being able to also listen in relationships, because I'm not the only person that's affected by it. You know, even my reaction to things affects other people. And so I need to be cognizant of that. I need to be aware of that. And again, slow things down and then approach it from a different avenue.
Mm-hmm.
How do you hope this show helps people see the connection between physical building and building a life worth living?
I think, again, it's the tangible, right? Like how does a man visualize these techniques, right? How are they looking at their lives? I don't know that a lot of men that I know ever sat back and went like, I should look at the blueprint of my life. You know,
Yeah.
I should look at, this, or I should look at how this is being built. And I should, so again, giving them something tangible to like really hold in their mind then as they're looking at their relationships or as they're looking at their own lives and their own healing, I think is going to be a very big change. But I think, again, what I'm excited for is seeing that evolve with the community and seeing how it affects other men.
Great. So a couple quick questions while we close things out. So best tool we've used in our marriage, whether it's literal or metaphorical?
Laughter.
Laughter?
Yeah.
Okay. One project or dream we currently are blueprinting together. What is it?
Not feeding you apple seeds every day.
The best is like the shirt. I don't know if you guys can read it. It was like, I love my wife, but sometimes I just want to square up.
I said bet.
Yeah, and she
Bet.
bought it. She bought it for me.
Yeah.
If our marriage was a building type, a barn, a modern home, a skyscraper, a cozy cabin, what would it be and why?
Scary little cabin in the woods that you enter and it is actually quaint and like comfortable.
Is that because of the way that our friends view us? Like
We
we're
are a
like...
disaster. Yeah.
Okay, so quick, your favorite memory of us working on something together, DIY fail or win. It's not really a DIY because usually the stuff that I do, I mean, I guess it's do it myself, but.
Well, I could tell them about your bachelor party.
Well, what did I do there?
You left to go party. And I was like, I'm going to renovate the kitchen.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, I did.
Pretty much.
Yeah. 4 days before the wedding.
Right?
At our house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The wedding was at the house. Yeah. Well, the wedding wasn't at the house. The reception was. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Otherwise, there's a lot. And we do work really, really well together. I think you're kind of a jerk sometimes.
You are so accident prone. Like you can't do anything without getting hurt. Like,
so be nice to me. I'm hurt.
and you won't follow any of the safety procedures that are laid out for you. Like, how about instead of using a gas-powered weed whacker, you actually put on some pants and boots like I told you to, instead of trying to walk out into tall grass with flip-flops
Safety
and
schmeefty.
and your lazy dukes.
No, I wasn't in Lazy Dukes.
You were in shorts.
But we normally work really well with each other. You don't have a ton of patience with me when I get hurt.
No, because it's usually followed by not followed, it's preceded by me telling you don't do this, and you are so stubborn you do it anyways, and you don't listen to any of the things that I tell you on how to do it safe, and you think that you can just do it your way, and then you end up getting hurt.
This is the secret to a happy relationship.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
What's one word you'd use to describe how we're building life right now?
Chaos.
Chaos?
Yeah.
Yeah, but lots of order can come from
No,
chaos.
we thrive in chaos.
Yeah.
When there's nothing, we lose it. That is not, both as people and as a couple. We do not function in non-chaotic environments.
I would say that's been my whole life. There's even a Masonic saying, it's called Ordo ab Chao, which means order from chaos. Yeah. And I would say that that's been my whole life, is I find order in chaos. So
we're very busy.
We are.
I shouldn't even say, I feel like there's such a negative aspect to the word chaos. And sometimes chaos, like healing, is beautiful, right? So, we thrive in this environment. We're not struggling in a chaotic environment. But yeah, I would say between all of the balls that we typically have in the air, the word is chaos.
Yeah. And much more to come.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm really happy that I had you on as the first guest on this podcast, and I'm more than excited to spend the rest of my life building this life with you. So thank you. I love you.
Love you.
That's it for this episode of Building Life, where construction meets consciousness. I'm AC Strong, and I'm honored to be on this journey with you. I don't have all the answers, but I got a toolbox full of construction wisdom and a heart ready to learn. If you're ready to build a stronger, more meaningful life, hit that subscribe button so we can keep building together. Share your thoughts in the comments or send me a message. Until next time, grab your tools, physical or spiritual, and let's get to work. See you on the job site.